All right, this is take 2 of this. I'm going to do this a little bit differently than I did the first time. People always ask about my channel's um, demographics. Now, I can't get into the sex of the people who watch because they can lie about that or their age, but they can't really lie about where they are. Yeah, you can go through a proxy server and lie, but majority of my viewers in the US. I think the shocking thing to me is over the last 2 years it's gone from I think it was 70% Canadian the first few months that I was doing this, and now it's 37%. And it's gone everywhere. And I remember the first time I saw countries like Latvia, Japan, Korea. The first time I saw those countries on my chart, I'm like, really? I got views from there? And I'm posting this because people ask. They ask, well, about the numbers and this and that. And there's only a certain amount that I can share. Um, there's a website called Social Blade that measures various numbers that a channel's got, and it tells you how you're doing. So I go on Social Blade regularly to see how I'm doing, how accurate their reporting is, and it's mildly accurate when it comes to all the numbers. But it's a wild, especially when it gets to the financials. It's basically just you've made between $1 and $1 million this month, haven't you? They're very general in that, and I don't know how accurate it is for other channels. And I do measure the channel's performance versus other channels because that's important to me when I'm doing all these videos and I'm uploading all this content all the time. I try to make sure that content isn't just content. So if I post say 4 videos in a day, and the most views that any of them gets is like 2 or 3 thousand, I go back and I go, okay, that doesn't work. That's got to come out. That's like not. I don't remove the video, but if I was thinking about making it a series or talking further about that topic from another team's perspective, I'm going to give it a second thought. Watch time in the last 28 days, 9.1 million minutes. I've had almost 1.5 million views in the last month. Which brings me to something I get emailed about a lot. With people who I assume are young, saying, I'm going to start a channel. How do I start it? What do I do? I don't know what I did to get here. It was 2 years ago going into the playoffs that I think that was the first time I talked about hockey on this channel. This had been a personal vlog that had Venus watching it. Hi, Venus. And that was it. I don't even know that. I mean, yeah, Venus and my mother used to watch my videos. My mother doesn't really watch my videos anymore. Where you at, Mom? Anyways, it's kind of weird
my mom to watch your videos now.
Yes, your mom watches my videos a lot. Um, it's a strange world because I didn't intend for this to happen or to get here, and I get comments regarding certain things, and that's all fine and dandy. Did I take that other shirt upstairs?
Which one?
The one that you made me. The Bruins one. I think that one's upstairs.
Oh, I think so.
Yeah, that's fine. Because the one I was wearing yesterday, there were a lot of comments about it. Yeah, no, Yvonne made that, so it's just
they were nice
fun.
Comments.
Some of them were not.
I figures.
So
People are stupid.
people aren't necessarily as fun as we are.
I know. They're
So
just jealous of our awesomeness.
because she wears the basically Halloween garb all year.
I'm wearing Hocus Pocus right now.
And a Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
They go together, right?
Absolutely. And I think that's part of what made this channel grow. So you have a certain portion of the population that looks at what I wear and says, grow up, go find something else. Put on a nice shirt and tie and wear a top hat and go work at the financial institutions or whatever. Like some 1920s style thing is the way that I picture them wanting me to look. And
you need like a cane too, though.
yes, to twirl while you're
Yes.
do 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 do
Yes.
do 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 do,
Totally
and
do it.
we'd have to shoot that in black and white with like the fuzzy the frame
Yeah.
flickering.
Yeah, let's do it.
So, but it's funny because the same thing that people throw criticism at me for is the same reason the channel's grown. The same reason that the channel got here. Me sitting around making magnets my last 2 shifts at TradeX allowed me to have all these small magnets that all fit on the board. all this stuff that I'm doing that people walking by the desk are like, what do you really? And even people that work there are like looking at me like I'm kind of out of my mind, and I've got 2 bags full of these small magnets, and I've still got more that I'm going to make. Is what's going to end up happening. And then the other thing too is that um, in the midst of all this and in growing my collection, the same thing that I was criticized for before I had a channel has kind of become my brand. So if you're trying to figure out what you're going to do for a channel, kind of take the thing you're getting picked on about, do videos about that, and odds are it'll be popular online because somebody else is in the same situation you're in. The tricky thing for me was that, or tricky thing on behalf of other people trying to get in is when I started doing this, when I started talking about hockey, there weren't very many channels doing that. You had Sportsnet, TSN, and that's part of the reason I started doing this was, well, look what they're doing. All they're talking about, even now, you'll watch after a game and be like, okay, so they talked about the Leafs game, and what about the other games? Oh, no, they went to talk about the Blue Jays. Okay, and now they're talking about the Raptors. All right, are you going to get back to it? No, now we're talking about Jeannie Bouchard and tennis. Okay, what about... No, now we're talking about golf. How do we get to golf? And then about 20 minutes in, they'll be like, and there was other action in the NHL tonight. And you're like, oh, finally. So this channel was just kind of my way of saying, I'm just going to cover everything. And it has to be, as a fan of both Boston and Dallas teams that don't get covered very much in Canada, especially Dallas. There's virtually no coverage for Dallas. I thought, it would be nice. I wish I had something to watch that was related to teams I cheer for that just happen to be American. And I've never understood that either. Well, you should cheer for this team because they're in Canada. You can't cheer for that team, they're in the States. I don't live there, and most players on teams are Canadian. So, since most of the players are Canadian, and I don't really personally know them, I don't think it's a big deal to cheer for an American team over a Canadian one. Unless I'm personally holding up the Stanley Cup, unless the Stanley Cup goes to all 30 million Canadians when we win a Stanley Cup, it really doesn't affect me that Canada gets it. Now, if the Canucks get it, that's awesome, but that's only because I'm a Canucks fan. But what I like with this, and what this tells me going forward is that when I talk to Yvonne about us going through the States and doing meetups, there is interest in that, because the numbers tell me I have 5% more Americans that watch me than Canadians. Now, it's not necessarily that simple, because, of course, there are 10 times more Americans than there are Canadians. And that means that while the numbers show me there's more U.S. watching me than in Canada, the actual percentage is much, much lower. But that's something I look at and I say, you know what? That's why with Seattle... we went through Seattle. I'm like, I have to talk about Seattle, because if I'm talking about the Seattle expansion from now until when it actually takes place in likely 2 years, this number probably gets larger and this number probably shrinks. And this is how I view part of it too. Canada's served when it comes to hockey coverage for the most part, unless like me you want to watch footage of, say, like Carolina or Florida or somebody else that you don't get to see in Canada. Then you can come over here and I've watched these games and I can talk to you about it because I have the center ice package. But in general, if you cheer for, say, Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, Edmonton, Calgary, Ottawa, Winnipeg, you're going to see that information on TSN Sportsnet. And I've seen those comments from Canadian viewers who are like, I don't see why your channel's big. You don't talk about anything that I don't hear on TSN or Sportsnet. Right. But in the States, they may not have access to that information. And as I learned when I was in the States a month ago, the coverage you may get in certain parts of the States, yeah, you may get to watch hockey, but the coverage may not be very good. So, there you go. There's the numbers. And for anybody who's looking to start up their own channel, honestly, find a spot where there's not a lot of channels already. There are now a bunch of hockey channels. And... I do watch and see where this channel is in relation to others. I don't watch other hockey channels because I don't want to feel like I'm copying somebody else or go, hey, wait, he copied me, or any of that crap, because I don't want to start second guessing video ideas based on videos other people have done. So I watch this information. I go on Social Blade. I check my numbers, and it's something I do pretty much every day, because the moment that I stop paying attention to this, that's when you end up in some trouble. So I know this may not help people looking to start their own channel, but it's not easy, and YouTube has made it more difficult for channels that are starting out to become established. I totally understand why they've done that. If the rules had been the way that they are now, honestly, I think I would still be here. If 2 years ago, if it had been just as difficult to get monetized 2 years ago as it is now, I still think I would have got here, only because you do this for the passion of it. You have to. If I wasn't passionate about hockey, there's no way any of this works. Am I always right? No. Do I make a lot of mistakes? Yep, probably. And I'm just being nice when I say probably. But I also do my best to provide you guys with as much content as I can, and I do that to make sure that if you're a fan of one of the teams that doesn't get reported on, you're going to find videos on this channel for your team. So you go, hey, look, I can watch Carolina videos for an hour. I can watch Calgary videos for an hour. I can watch Buffalo. I can watch whatever team you cheer for. It's there. So there you go. The demographics as they are, and here's to looking forward to. If you guys think that shirt that Yvonne made was loud, you just wait, because there's some hockey fabric in this house that it's it's some loud stuff. I still have a theory that she puts these clothes on me so that if we go out to a fair or we go somewhere public, she can't lose me in a crowd.
It is generally
it feels like she's trying to avoid an Amber Alert when she puts me in these clothes. But hey, thank you guys very much for watching. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this. And thank you very much to the United States of America for the fact that YouTube's headquarters are there. That's where everything comes from that makes this possible. And for the fact that that's where 42% of the viewers come from. And I'm not forgetting any of these countries either, because, hey, it all adds up. Thank you guys very much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.